Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking with Grim, who's one of our top traders inside of Mashallah Group. We're going to talk about his trade on Justice and how he entered in at a $19 million market cap and exited around the $150 to $160 million range within a couple of hours. And we're going to go over his entire entry thesis, his entire exit plan, and basically just show you guys what a really good trade looks like. And on this trade, it was some pretty insane gains, really fast. This is not what usually happens. I would not say that this is realistic for every single person that's watching this video, but for those of you who actually want to take this serious, this is something that is completely possible for anyone that actually wants to take it serious. So we're going to go over everything with Grim here, and obviously a token of this stature with this holder growth velocity and volume within the 1 hour candle was super insane. So tokens like this come, I would say, every now and then, maybe a couple of tokens like this every week. And in this market, since it's picking up more and more every single week, we're probably going to see more tokens like this soon. And yeah, I mean, so Grim, if you want to go over with us what Justice is and how we identified it and all that, that'll be great. And then we'll get into entry thesis, take profit thesis, and all that good stuff. But let's just talk about how we identified this first.
Yeah, for sure. So Justice is the coin that's launched by Peanut Dad, or if people don't know who that is, obviously there's a coin called Peanut that was launched a couple weeks ago, having to do with the famous TikTok squirrel being kind of like wrongfully murdered by the government, and that obviously created a lot of traction. It created a new meta within inside the market. So obviously a really popular coin, except that Peanut was not launched by the actual TikTok creator, the person that made the videos of the squirrel. But Justice is launched and backed by that person, the owner. And so when we first identified this coin around 7 million, as much as you and I wanted to jump in right away, obviously have to do our due diligence, have to really make sure that that this is not some sort of scam or anything like that. That our risk parameters are being put in place in a way that when we share in mashallah, no one is gonna be taking a loss just because you and I didn't do our due diligence. But we really saw this around 7 million, and after that, we waited for price to do its thing to show us that we could enter. As you can see on the chart right here, we have a change in state of delivery. People that are watching, you may not understand that. That's more for the people that are part of the mashallah mentorship. But after we saw that, we were able to scoop up a nice entry down here at 19 mil. You can see in the group, we have it in our conviction channel, which is the channel that we only post when we're very confident about a call. These are the ones that we're going to be sizing up on. These are not really gamble plays. These are ones that we have hard conviction into, and that lets members know that they are safe to throw in a little bit extra in terms of position sizing. But as you can see, the conviction is there, literally telling everyone that it's a free trade. We verified that Squirrel Dad is actually behind it. We checked the wallets. We made sure that there was nothing too fishy going on. We gave some short-term targets in case anyone with deep pockets, they want to take some off. But we really rode this thing all the way up to 155, 160 mil. This is where we really exited, all the way down from 19 mil. And like you said in the beginning, no one should think that this is like an everyday occurrence. Catching these kinds of coins, these are really like the catching lightning in a bottle trades, where it's literally launched and backed by the Peanut owner. And Peanut went all the way to like 2 billion, something around that tune. So for you and I, after seeing it 7 million, doing our due diligence, letting the chart show us what it wants to do, we get in here at 19 mil, ride it all the way up. It went all the way up to 243 mil, but obviously would have been kind of difficult to sell within such an aggressive wick. But 160 mil, it was definitely hovering there for a while. Definitely enough time for someone to have taken profits and got out. maybe even a little bit higher. But I think for the most part, we captured the majority of this move. And when you're trading, it's not about catching the Pico bottom and selling the Pico top. Obviously, that's nice, but even if you can just catch, the meat of the move, that's really what you want. So that's justice. That's how we got in. And yeah, obviously, really lucrative trade. I threw in around 10,000 myself, and let's just say I might be done for the week.
Yeah. And I just want to go over one more thing as well. Like for me, looking at this chart, I would say I have a little bit more of an edge over other people because I've worked with devs, I've worked with teams, I've worked with some of the biggest guys that are launching some of the biggest tokens. A lot of them are my friends within my network. So I understood the market maker movement here. I understood what type of chart they were trying to paint out here. And then when I saw certain wallets with certain wallet amounts or with certain Solana amounts inside of the market maker wallets, I understood that these guys had a little bit more money than your average $50 million token, $20 million token, which by the time when we called it, it was, well, we first identified it around the $7 to $10 million range, and then I was just looking at it for quite a while, identifying that the market maker does have money. They are going to be pushing more money into this chart, and obviously seeing that it is the legit justice token backed by the real Peanut owner. I just came to the conclusion that this is something that we're going to be able to ape into once we find a better entry, and then once I saw the market maker actually create a very nice shakeout at that bottom at 19 million on that second leg up, that's when we actually made a really good entry. So, I mean, Grim, if you want to go over your entry thesis and as well as to your take profit thesis on this, and then maybe share the points where you actually took profit on this $19 million entry, that'll be good as well. So these people can understand what our thought process is and maybe they can even emulate it or maybe just take some inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. So, in terms of take profits, there's another term that I'm going to be throwing in here that may just sound like technical jargon, but the people that are a part of the mentorship will know exactly what I'm talking about. But standard deviations are obviously really good to use to get if you're just looking for short term profit taking movements. And the idea is that through this first zone, if price can close above this zone, then the implications are that the next zone is a given. And obviously, once we saw that, we know that there's no reason to sell at 75 to 65 mil and to expect higher. And obviously, we can see that we got that zone there. Once we start seeing something like this, where we have really big candles one after another, but then this next candle makes a really, really aggressive move up and then closes back below this candle. That's kind of when we start to get the idea that, hey, you know what, this might be a sign of exhaustion from the buyers. So that's kind of why once we saw this big wick, we still have time to exit. We say it closes back in, gets one more move above, and this is kind of where we start selling, right? 155 to 160 million. And then as you can see, now we start to slowly sell off. The imbalances are not holding anymore. They're actually being closed below right here. Um, and yeah, so that gives us some early warning signs on, what the market makers are doing, what retail that has got in really early if they're starting to sell their bags. And as you can see, we pretty much called, we got really close to the bottom, really close to the top. And like I said, in trading, it's not about catching bottoms and tops. It's just about catching the majority of the move, the meat of the move, and this entire uh 4 hour candlestick, it's like if you just caught one of these two candles, you made really, really good money. And as you mentioned earlier in the video, this trade wasn't even very long, considering how much return it gave. It was about 6 hours, I would say. So,
And
6 hours for that amount of return is pretty wild.
I'm just gonna add on as well, like all of this entire massive run up, it happened so quick. Once it hit the $50 million range, which is where that second line is that you drew there. Once it hit the $50 million range, it just had a parabolic run up. And in my opinion, a lot of it too was because the United States was still sleeping. So in my thesis as well, which I discussed with you when this trade was actually taking place, I discussed to you that the market makers and that retail that got in early is actually going to dump on the United States once they start waking up. So once we hit around, I believe it was like 6 or 7 a.m. Miami time, which is New York time, we actually
Mhm.
started seeing that huge sell off right after that huge run up and that huge wick. And me and you also said that we're going to be looking for another entry for another bounce. So
Okay.
once we saw this aggressive sell off, we actually called in our group again to buy in around that $30 million level. I actually got in at $31 million. I actually got a $31 million entry after we sold the top. And then it re-ran back up to just around $100 million, which was really great because yeah, I mean we took profit around that $7 to $80 million range, and everyone was pretty happy about that. So we basically caught two trades within a 1 day time span on this Justice coin. And again, I'm not going to say whether it's going to run back up or not run back up. That's just all dependent on what the market maker wants at this point. And a lot of retail has gotten out of this, so a lot of the supply is back in the market maker's hands. But we do see some really good holder distribution on this. I think we have over 30,000 holders within this such short amount of time frame with still such good volume. So it definitely still shows some signs of strength. But again, if you just want to go over the final part, which is just your take profit in those exact points where you took profit and why you took profit, I think you went over that a little bit, but maybe be a little bit more specific so these people can really understand what our thesis was. That'll be great on the first trade.
Yeah, so like we mentioned, we have the standard deviations. We can see that we are not getting any closes above this really large candle, and it's mostly just aggressively wicking, which, a wick is buying and selling, and obviously when you get buying of this magnitude and then it gets sold right back down, that obviously will give you a clear warning sign that, when it runs up this large, you got to start asking yourself, at what point are the buyers going to start becoming exhausted? And if we're looking at a lower time frame here to really kind of show, if kind of show like the, I guess, like sell side of things, where you can see that these sell side inefficiencies are being respected in a bearish manner. If you notice on the way up, we have these buy side inefficiencies where they're being respected, and they're also showing us what it is that we want to see, right? We tap into this imbalance, it shoots up, make another imbalance, it holds. There are no closes below. The wicks do the damage, the bodies tell the story. And now when we come back and look at the top as a reference for the sell side of things, to where we know, like, hey, you know what, I think that this trend is starting to flip. We can see that this imbalance is being held on a bearish manner. There's wicks that go through it, but there are no body closes above. After, right, this is key, after this takes place. After we see those big wicks and not really much follow through, as opposed to what we saw over here, where we might get some wicks, but we get follow through. Even like right here, we get wicks, but we still respect this small imbalance in here that you can see. Um, and so that is kind of a little bit of what we use. Obviously, watching the other wallets, seeing what they're doing as well helps a lot. But purely from a technical analysis perspective, imbalances are pretty good to kind of measure the flow of aggression and to see if, buyers are really sticking through this. If this would have gotten flipped, then we would have known, that the trend is probably still back on. Even someone with a, trend line, could have done okay. Obviously, not anywhere near as good as what we did, but yeah, in
And
terms of take profits, that's what I'm looking at.
what I definitely want to mention as well is that a lot of these market makers, what they'll do is they'll create these fake bearish shakeouts with huge downside wicks. So like we can even see on this chart that there's some crazy downside wicks that the market makers will create to create a fake shakeout and get out these larger size holders once they see that they're down so much on their bag. And they'll basically create these fake shakeouts for whether anywhere from 30 seconds to a few minutes or sometimes even longer. They'll create these fake shakeouts, as well as we can see as well on the inverse, on the upside. We can see that huge wick to the upside from that $160 million range all the way up to the past $200 million range. I think that was either a MEV or just a fake shakeout from the market maker. But what they'll do is they'll create these huge wicks to also create fake potential upside for basically creating a false prophecy for holders to believe that it's going to re-reach those all-time highs again. So as we can see, that's a fake shakeout. What it's creating is it's creating this emotion within holders to show them that it might reach those all-time highs again. So it's just creating fake all-time highs within a second by second basis, or sometimes minute by minute basis. And a lot of times when they create an over exaggerated wick, it'll just trigger people to keep buying in. But I mean, we can even see the same occurrence happens on some of the wicks around the $80 million range on the first uptrend, where we see these large wicks to the upside. And that's just the market maker creating these fake uptrends to the upside, and basically seeing as they're selling back down on that fat wick, they're creating these fake uptrends and they're creating these fake all-time highs so that holders can see that there is strength and that there is volume for that potential. So they're just going to keep on eating it up and buying it up, which is exactly what we saw occur. So you guys have to be careful. A lot of times these market makers will just artificially create these imbalances, which is just obviously going to trigger emotion from either people that want to buy in and that have FOMO, or from people that are over leveraged and just have too much of a bag and want to make an emotional decision. So it's something that not even 1% of top meme coin traders understand because they've never been on the dev side. But it's just something that you guys have to understand. And it's always a give or take. You can't ever be 100% correct on it. It's just something to keep in mind. And I would not judge your entire opinion or your entire thesis of whether to buy or sell something based off of that factor. But it's just something to keep in mind. And I almost see it as a bullish sign if a team is able to create these large wicks. It shows that the team has money. It shows that the team does have strategy behind their token. And it also does show, too, that there is a potential upside for an uptrend if you're able to properly understand what's going on. So, I mean, I think other than that, that's a pretty good overview on the Justice trade. We also have one other trade that we'll spend way less time on because it wasn't as much of like a generational trade. But if you want to go over Frick, I think people would appreciate that as well, because actually in one of my last videos, I was showing my live trade of Frick and of Justice, and I literally said in the video, I said Justice is going to cross over 100 million, and I was saying that when Justice was maybe around 20 million is exactly when I was talking
Mm.
about the token, which is pretty crazy because I kind of had a feeling with what the market maker was going to do because of just the volume and the velocity and the pressure of holder growth was just something that we don't really see that often. And I did see something similar here with Frick, except the market maker decided to not go as aggressive here. But Frick definitely had a great narrative. If you want to go over it, you can. I just don't want to spend too much time on that since we spent so much time on Justice. But if you just want to talk about our entry, our thesis, and our sell orders here, that'll be great as well. So we can just show people how we caught almost the exact top and we caught a really, really, really great entry on this first downtrend. And yeah, let's definitely talk about this one.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that I think a lot of people overlook is the fact that, you come to a group like Mashallah and you have people that are experts in technical analysis. You have people that have done market making before, so you have a culmination of a bunch of different types of edges that people have, and they all come together to put their minds together to really kind of utilize, our different types of edges, because what I see on the chart may not be what you see on the chart, and what I see on the chart may not be what you see, with the market making. And you actually got into Frick earlier than I did. And, like you said, you understood what the market maker was doing on this. And for me, I was really more so waiting for the chart to tell me that I'm good to go. Um, but like I said, you caught it around, I think, what was it, 7 mil?
Yeah, it was just I think it was just under 8 million. On my video, I literally showed like the live trade as well, which is pretty crazy. So,
Yeah.
people can go verify that if they want.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, right? We can see that the flow of money is now going from down to up, and we start using these imbalances. You can really see how reliable they act in terms of acting as a natural support and resistance. And a lot of people don't understand that this is kind of like this is how liquidity is booked in all markets, is with inefficiencies and liquidity. So we caught it all the way down here at 8 mil. You actually got in a little bit earlier. You did your live trade, which is a lot of people don't do stuff like that live. So that's really impressive. And we got our first TP here using the standard deviations like we talked about in the previous trade. Notice that right when we hit the zone, we had a retracement where we were actually able to re-enter into this inefficiency. And you can see that everything I'm saying is consistent. There's nothing different. There's a small violation, but not really anything too concerning. So once we hit that zone, we're able to TP a little bit here, re-add, and then we take it to that final zone all the way up here, which it did go a little bit above. This about 25%. But like I mentioned earlier, we're not concerned with picking tops and bottoms. We're concerned with catching the meat of the move. And, even if we take it down here, that's the meat of the move, An extra 25, 50% is not really too concerning for us when we're catching trades like this, right?
Yeah, for sure. And also too, we can see that both of these, both Justice and Frick, did have its first initial shakeout within the first 24 hours. And this is just something that we're going to see with tokens when people are getting such early entries, especially too because they're up so much on their bag. They're DCAing out. Some people are full porting their sell orders, which is obviously up to them. It's a free market. It's an open market. Anyone can do whatever they want. But these are these first downtrends that actually build the first initial community within that first week. And then a lot of times too, on a lot of these larger size tokens that have these first large initial run-ups with high velocity, they are going to see these downtrends. And this is just something that we see. And we usually see the first initial rerun back up off these first initial highs. We usually see them a couple weeks after. So it's just something that I definitely want people to keep their eye on. I want people to watch these charts over the next few weeks and just see all this pan out. And if these both die out, it's simply because the market makers have decided that they wanted to exit. Maybe they lost money on the market making. Maybe they lost money on a few other things that they did because it costs a lot of money to run these projects. Dependent as well as too, if these teams are paying KOLs, if these teams are paying other team members, and if they want to sell their tokens. Again, it's a free market. Anyone can do whatever they want, and there's a million reasons why a project fizzles out and dies out, and there's a million reasons why a project goes up or down. So you guys have to keep that in mind. All of this at the end of the day is obviously short-sighted. It's meme coins. There are going to be those meme coins that have those 1,000x's and that hit those billion-dollar market caps, but the true reality is that very few of them actually do that. So that's why we just want to help you guys here. Find your entries, find your take profit plan, and just stick to it. Because a lot of people, once they see those run-ups, once they see the volume at a very high velocity, they start getting emotional and they start saying, oh, I'm going to hold just a little bit longer. And then you're basically playing that crash game that all these casinos have, right? It's just a matter of time before your bag gets fucking nuked. And if you're at a point where you feel like that you've made enough money, you're happy with your money, you're happy with your trade, there's just no reason for you to stay in that trade. And if you would like as well, you can just take out your initials and leave in the rest as a moon bag to basically have fun with. But again, that is your gambling money. That is your fun money. So just keep that in mind. Always have a plan. And again, in Mashallah, we just show people how to have this plan. We also have a lot of other people that are smarter than me, that are smarter than Grim in different skill sets. So we just combine those skill sets and we're able to come up with good theses. We're able to find these tokens early because we have people that are in the trenches all day long, scanning, looking at wallets, watching volume, watching holder growth, watching narratives. So just keep that in mind. You need to be around a solid group of guys that are combining their skills to find these tokens, to find these plays early before they have these fast run-ups. So again, this is not what every single trade is going to look like. Sometimes we have losing trades, but majority of the time we are net profitable. So again, I don't know if there's anything much else to go over, Grim. You let me know.
No, I think what you said was perfect. Remember that capital preservation is key. And on top of that is surrounding yourself a group of like-minded people that have skill sets that you don't, not only so that you can learn from them, but so that you guys can mutually benefit from each other and come together in one spot to share all that different types of alpha and knowledge. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think that you pretty much covered everything.
Okay, yeah, great. So we'll see you guys in the next video. And if we have another one of these crazy trades, we're definitely going to cover everything. And just let me guys know down below in the comments if you like this breakdown, if you like this TA, because I don't know anyone else who's doing these types of videos that's showing their live TA, that's showing their trades. I have a few friends actually, but majority of the time we stay net. But majority of the time we stay net profit. Yeah, I think we're good here. Thank you so much, Grim, and we'll see you guys in the next video. I know there's like one or two other guys doing it out there, but they're already in the 8-figure level, and they're already in the 8-figure level. They're already established. But